in the offline sense of it. It's Anne Coulter. So, Anne, thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. Thanks for having me. That was a fantastic opening monologue. I too am a fan of yours. So I'm going to make a point of disagreeing with you so that it will be fun.
Yeah.
You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory.
Before we go to the main point, it is important to comment on this section. People gave Vivek Ramaswamy quite a bit of flack for laughing at this comment, but honestly, the outrage is completely unjustified. When I first heard the remark, I immediately assumed the speaker was mocking the leftist idea that calling black people articulate is somehow racist. Not that she was making a racist statement herself. Because, like it or not, this is literally a claim that exists in mainstream progressive discourse, that saying a black person is articulate is a so-called microaggression or subtle form of racism. In the Article 12, Common Words and Phrases with Racist Origins or Connotations by Brittany Wong, it says, there are words that don't necessarily have etymologies that are racist, but they're used in a racist manner, nonetheless. Articulate is one of them, said Megan Figueroa, a linguist and co-host of the Vocal Fries podcast about linguistic discrimination. Consider articulate the slightly less racist, but still cut from the same cloth cousin of uppity. To call a black person articulate or well-spoken is to suggest that you expect the opposite to be true. When a non-black person says to a black person, "You are so articulate," what you are saying is that you are surprised they have a certain set of acceptable linguistic skills, and here, acceptable equates to sounds white, Figueroa said. This upholds the racist idea that the only way for black people to be taken seriously is to sound white, when linguistically speaking, both ways of speaking are equally good. So yes, the idea being mocked here is very real, and in that light, Coulter's joke was clearly a satirical jab at the absurdity of this ideology, not an insult toward black people. That's why Vivek's laughter was justified. He understood the joke. But of course, people who already dislike him, and her, will jump to conclusions without giving the benefit of the doubt. Now, let's quickly debunk this nonsense about articulate being racist. Calling an individual articulate is a compliment. Full stop. It does not imply anything about anyone else in their racial group. A compliment aimed at one person does not become racist simply because of the recipient's skin color. That's not how logic works, or ethics for that matter. The idea that saying you're articulate is problematic only when the person is black is actually patronizing and self-defeating. It assumes race is the defining context of every single interaction, and worse, it associates speaking clearly with sounding white, which ironically reinforces the very white supremacy these critics claim to oppose. Why would articulateness be seen as a white trait? Articulateness is not white. It's human. So no, calling someone articulate is not racist. It's not a microaggression. It's a normal human interaction that's being twisted by people desperate to find offense where none exists. Let's stop moralizing compliments, stop assuming bad intentions, and stop pretending racism is lurking in every syllable. Now, with that out of the way, let's move on to the main point.
And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during, in fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian.
What an absolutely absurd thing to say. So let's get this straight. She agrees with Vivek, finds him articulate, and believes he's better than most other candidates, but she wouldn't vote for him because he's Indian? That's not just wrong. It's stupid on multiple levels. 1. Vivek is American. Full stop. First of all, Vivek was born in the United States, not India. He grew up here, went to American schools, attended American universities, built businesses here, and speaks about America with passion and conviction. His values, rhetoric, and political philosophy are thoroughly American. So how exactly is he being classed as Indian other than ethnicity? Why would someone look at a man like Vivek and see Indian first instead of American? That's not patriotism. That's ethno-nationalism. And it's as irrational as it is unprincipled. 2. Conservatives oppose identity politics. So why play it? Isn't this the very kind of race-based decision-making conservatives routinely criticize under DEI and affirmative action policies? We say we want the most qualified person, regardless of race or background. We say race shouldn't matter. character, competence, and leadership should. And yet here we have someone who admits Vivek is a superior candidate, but still dismisses him on the basis of race? That's not conservative. It's hypocritical. 3. Even strategically, it's counterproductive. Even if someone personally prefers a white candidate, wouldn't it make sense, strategically, to support a strong, principled non-white candidate if it helps the conservative movement reach more Americans? Whether we like it or not, representation matters to many voters. A non-white Republican presidential candidate with real substance could disrupt the narrative that the GOP is the white people's party. If you truly believe conservative policies are better for the country, wouldn't you want to broaden the appeal, even if it means setting aside personal preferences? Sometimes leadership means choosing what benefits the nation or movement, not just what scratches your personal biases. 4. Imagine the reverse. If a person said, "I think Ron DeSantis is smart and one of the most qualified, but I just can't vote for a white guy," they would be rightly called racist. So why would the reverse be acceptable? We either reject race-based judgment or we don't. You can't apply the standards selectively based on which race is involved. 5. You don't have to relate racially to lead. The idea that voters need to share a racial background with a candidate to trust them is both wrong and dangerous. The left sometimes argues, you can't understand black struggles if you're not black, or only indigenous voices should speak on this issue. But a leader's role is not to look like every citizen. It's to lead with integrity, vision, and competence. Looking like the minority group doesn't make you more competent. You don't need a president to look like you. You need a president with the right values and the wisdom to implement them. Someone who looks like you may do a terrible job while someone who looks different may do an excellent job, and vice versa. 6. Do you believe in assimilation? If we believe in integration, assimilation, and a shared national identity, then someone like Vivek, who embodies American ideals, language, and values, should be the success story, not someone excluded on ethnic grounds. You can't promote assimilation while penalizing those who fully embraced your culture and principles. 7. Why say this out loud? Even if Anne Coulter truly believes this, what exactly was the point of saying it out loud? There's a famous Jewish saying, attributed to Rabbi Menachem Mendel of Kotsk, "Not all that is thought needs to be said. Not all that is said needs to be written. Not all that is written needs to be published. Not all that is published needs to be read." In other words, think before you speak, and consider whether your words are helpful or harmful. So what was Coulter trying to accomplish by saying this publicly? Did she think it through? Did she consider that her words would be seized on by political opponents to paint conservatives as racist and fuel the stereotype of the bigoted right-winger? Was it worth giving the left exactly what they want, a soundbite to smear everyone on her side? And what about the potential for millions of Indian American citizens to have seen this clip? Did it occur to her that she might have pushed them further away from the Republican Party, even if they agreed with everything else she said? As it says in Proverbs 17:28, "Even fools are thought wise if they keep silent." She could have simply said nothing. There was no strategic gain, no moral urgency, and no important truth being expressed. I'm not saying we should shy away from controversial or uncomfortable truths. Sometimes being offensive is necessary when speaking out against lies or injustice. But this wasn't one of those moments. Her comment wasn't just controversial, it was unnecessary, counterproductive, and wrong. 8. This isn't just a bad take. It's racism. Let's be clear. This isn't just a case of disagreeing opinions or different perspectives. What Coulter said crosses a moral line. She is advocating for racial discrimination. She is explicitly saying that no matter how qualified someone is, no matter how patriotic or capable, she won't support them because of their ethnicity. That is racism, not the exaggerated kind the left constantly invents, but the literal old-school kind. I won't vote for him because of the color of his skin. It's not just foolish. It's morally wrong, logically incoherent, and deeply harmful. It fosters a worldview where race is more important than the nation, merit, character, or national interest. That's the very mindset we should be fighting, not adopting. No serious religious, philosophical, or rational moral framework justifies this attitude. It's wrong from every angle. To be nuanced, if she had said she was uncomfortable voting for someone because of their religion, it would at least be a value-based concern. Religion entails beliefs, behaviors, and worldviews, things you can actually agree or disagree with. Race doesn't. But she didn't say it's because of religion. Race was the factor. Also, just because Coulter made a racist and foolish comment doesn't mean she should be erased or hated. She didn't lie, slander, or incite violence. She simply gave a terrible opinion, and we can, and should, condemn it harshly without pretending she's beyond redemption. Let's keep space for correction and forgiveness. That's what maturity looks like. Condemn the wrong, but don't lose all perspective. And another thing is, we have to give credit for Vivek for keeping his cool during this interaction. Good for him. You should never freak out even if you are insulted. So we can and must criticize people, even if they're on our side politically, especially when it comes to important issues. Yes, infighting can be a real problem, but the problem is usually with trivial disputes, meaningless arguments, petty drama, or needless point scoring that only create division and weaken the cause. If it's a minor issue, don't stir the pot. Don't escalate unnecessarily. And frankly, don't go wild even when it's a major issue. We already have enough shouting. What we need is firm, thoughtful correction, not emotional overreaction. But when someone on your side says something seriously wrong, like we've just explored, it's not only right, it's necessary to correct it, and to do so calmly, clearly, and directly. Because if we don't confront falsehood, it spreads. Ideas don't stop themselves. Without pushback, bad thinking gains momentum. Like inertia, it continues rolling forward unless someone pushes back. That's our role. To be that external force that stops harmful ideas in their tracks, even when they come from people we usually agree with, because truth and integrity matter more than tribal loyalty. Final word. What actually matters in leadership? Now you have a solid ethical foundation for how to judge leadership. It is not about race. It is about values, wisdom, competence, moral clarity, and a vision that serves the nation's best interests. The main question that should matter is, who is best, or at least better, for the country? That's how you decide who to support. That's how a serious citizen thinks. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. And visit my website Radical Universe to explore more critical discussions like this. Let's keep thinking clearly and standing for what's right. Thanks again.